Darren Rees, and welcome to a brand new episode on the French senior team superstar and Real Madrid midfielder Eduardo Camavinga. Before we get into this episode on Eduardo Camavinga, let's do a few of your shout-outs. The first one says, "Hey Darren, can I have a shout out? My name is Louis McCafferty and I'm 6 years old and I play for AM Soccer in Fife in Scotland. I love the podcast and I listen every single night in bed. Could I request an episode about Hearts?" Well, Louis from Fife in Scotland, a massive shout out for you to everybody in your football team, to your coaches, who I'm sure do a wonderful job. And don't you worry, your episode request has been noted and has been added to the very long list of episodes I still need to write. And that list seems to get longer and longer as the weeks go by. Next up is a shout out for Leo and his football team, Whitestone Wanderers. So Leo, who plays for Whitestone Wanderers, a huge shout out to you, a massive shout out to everybody in your team, your coaches, the parents who support you the whole way, and everybody else involved in the team. Thank you so much for being a listener, and thank you very much for getting in contact with the Football for Kids podcast. And last but not least on this episode is a gigantic shout out to Lucas Brooker, who has had a bit of a tough time both on the football pitch and off of it, and due to a football related injury has got to go for an operation this Wednesday. So this shout out and all of these thoughts come from your mum Rebecca, your dad and all the family and everybody at your football team, Keyworth United and Bantams Football Club. Everybody is rooting for you, Lucas. We wish you a speedy recovery. You are as tough as they come and you are going to be absolutely fine. So a massive shout out to you from all of those people and of course from me, Darren Rees, at the Football for Kids podcast. So, let's get into it, shall we? On no other than Eduardo Camavinga. Before the roaring crowds, before the trophies, before the bright white shirt of Real Madrid, Eduardo Camavinga's story began in a place very different to the football pitch which you see him on today. He was born on the 10th of November 2002 in a refugee camp in Angola, after his family fled war from the Democratic Republic of Congo, a country in Central Africa. His parents had been forced to leave their home near the capital city, Kinshasa, searching for safety for their children. Life in the camp was tough. There was very little money, very little food, and every day was about survival. Eduardo was the third of 6 children, growing up in a family where strength, love and sticking together meant everything. His father would quite literally travel for days at a time to earn enough money to feed the family, and his mum would work tirelessly to keep everyone safe and keep everybody going. Eduardo was far too young to remember these days, but that fighting spirit, that never giving up energy would grow inside him forever. And years later, fans would see it every single time he stepped onto a football pitch, because the boy who started life in one of the hardest places imaginable was already learning how to be a fighter. In 2003, when Eduardo Camavinga was still a baby, his family made a huge life decision. They moved to France, searching for safety, stability and a brand new beginning. Their journey first took them to the northern city of Lille, before they eventually settled in a small town called Fougères, in the northwest of France. Fougères was very different from where they had come from. It was quieter, calmer, and a place where Eduardo could grow up, go to school and start to dream like any other child should have the opportunity to do so. The family lived in the suburbs, surrounded by kind neighbours and other immigrant families who helped them settle into French life. One person in particular who became very important during these early years was Eduardo's older brother. He was Eduardo's protector, his role model, and one of the first people to spark his love for sport. He was in a new country, in a new home, and the very first steps of a brand new dream, and he was doing it all with his siblings and his parents. Now, believe it or not, football was not Eduardo Camavinga's first sport. When he was little, and I mean very little, he had so much energy. He was always tearing the place up, running around, jumping, crashing into things all around him and all around the house. His mum knew they needed to do something, so she decided he needed somewhere to focus all of that power and all of that movement. So she signed him up for judo, the Japanese martial art of balance, strength and discipline. And for a while, Eduardo loved it. He learned how to stay low, how to stay strong, how to control his body, skills that would later become superpowers on the football pitch. But there was one problem: his heart belonged somewhere else. You see, Eduardo would often watch his dad playing football in a local team called Fougères. I've probably completely butchered the pronunciation of that football team, but I gave it a good go. And every time he watched that said football team, something inside him lit up. The noise, the grass, the ball at his feet, it felt like home. So at a young age, Eduardo made the switch from judo and the mats to the grass of the football pitch. And the moment his boots touched the grass, that football journey began. By 2009, Eduardo Camavinga was ready for organised football. He officially joined a local club in Fougères, the very same town where he'd grown up kicking a ball all around the streets. And it was here that something important happened. He met a coach named Burel, a football expert who had spent quite some time spotting young talent, and it didn't take him long to spot young Eduardo. He was quiet, he was shy, but he was always on time, he was always focused, and he was unbelievably talented. What made Eduardo special was that he could play pretty much anywhere. If a team needed help defending, well, look no further. If they needed somebody to score some goals, well, look no further. He wasn't just one type of player, he was everything. A teammate, a defender, an attacker, you name it, he could do it. Coaches sometimes call that sort of player a Swiss Army knife, someone who could pretty much do it all. With guidance from the coach and from his family, mentors and everybody around him, Eduardo started to move at rapid speed. He was unbelievable at such a young age. In 2013, Eduardo Camavinga's life took an unexpected turn. One day, while he was at school with his sister, they noticed fire engines going flying past the classroom windows. The lights were flashing. They sped through the streets of Fougères. Later, they learned that the fire had reached their family home. Thankfully, everybody was safe, but the house itself had been completely and utterly destroyed, and many of the family's belongings were lost and gone. It was a truly difficult moment, especially seeing how emotional his father was. However, at that time, although it was so difficult, so troubling and so upsetting, his father let him into something. His father told him he believed in him. He believed that he could go all the way and do something special to help the family move forward. Eduardo was only 10 years old at this point, but those words stayed with him for the rest of his life. From that point on, football became more than just fun. It became a dream that was filled with purpose. And with the help of his kind neighbours and their local community, the family rebuilt, they recovered, and they grew stronger together. Not long after this, Eduardo joined the academy of Stade Rennais, and his journey in football began to rise faster than ever, proof that even in the toughest of moments, these type of moments can lead to a bright future. Eduardo's rise at Stade Rennais was incredibly fast. By just 16 years old, he was already playing for the club's reserve team, and soon after, he made his first team debut against Angers. This was in April 2019, and at that time he became one of the youngest players to ever play for the club. But the real wow moment came later that year against Paris Saint-Germain, facing some of the biggest stars in world football. Eduardo didn't just play though, he properly shone, providing a brilliant assist and helping the team win 2-1 at just 16 years old. He was named Ligue 1 Player of the Month, and he was one of the youngest to ever do it. And the football world at this point officially sat up and took notice of this young lad who had already been on some incredible journey. Camavinga'S breakthroughs just kept getting bigger and bigger as the moments went by, and in December 2019 he scored his very first professional goal for Stade Rennais against Lyon, firing home late in the match to secure a famous win. Around this time he also officially became a French citizen, opening the door to international football in France. It, of course, didn't take long, and he was called up to represent France's under-21 side. And soon after, the manager from the men's senior team was on his case and selected him for the national team. Eduardo made his debut against Croatia in the September of 2020, becoming France's youngest player in over a century. Then came another unforgettable moment. His first international goal, a stunning overhead kick against Ukraine at just 17 years old. He was a boy who once dreamed at just 17 years old in the suburbs of Fougères, and he was now scoring goals on the world stage. In August 2021, Camavinga'S dream reached a whole new level. He signed for Real Madrid, one of the most famous clubs on the planet. He joined for a transfer fee record of 31 million euros. Suddenly, he was sharing midfield with legends like Luka Modric, who we've done an episode on, and Toni Kroos, who we've also done an episode on. In Spain, his game grew even stronger. The fans nicknamed him Tacovinga because of his fearless defending and his ability to win the ball back wherever he was on the pitch. He even scored in his debut, but his biggest impact came in the UEFA Champions League, where his energy off the bench helped Real Madrid produce an incredible comeback win on the way to lifting the trophy. By just 19 years old, Eduardo wasn't just living the dream, he was helping Real Madrid write history into the history books. This was incredible. Eduardo Camavinga'S story kept soaring higher and higher every moment he stepped on the pitch. And in May 2023, under the roaring lights of a UEFA Champions League semi-final, he set up a huge goal against Manchester City, assisting Vinicius Jr. and becoming the youngest player to ever provide an assist on that stage in that competition. He was the proof that you can shine when the pressure is at its loudest. But no matter how big the stadiums are, Eduardo never forgot where he came from. His family stayed at the heart of everything which he did, and still does, especially his older brother, Sebastião, who had helped and guided him through from the very beginning. Together, they even opened a barbershop in Madrid, a place filled with laughter, community and football chat, visited by his teammates like Jude Bellingham. But back in France, the town of Fougères honoured their hometown hero in the most incredible way, naming a stadium after him. He has done some incredible things since turning over as a senior player. Eduardo Camavinga'S story is proof that where you start does not decide where you finish. From being born in a refugee camp to kicking a ball around the streets of Fougères to wearing the famous white shirt of Real Madrid and playing for France and doing some wonderful things along the way. He's had moments where he could have easily given up, but he kept running, kept learning, kept fighting for his dream and, most importantly, for his family. And today, he stands as one of the world's brightest footballing stars, not just because of his talent, but because of his heart. So whenever football feels tough, whenever life feels tough, remember Eduardo Camavinga'S story. Because no matter where you come from, no matter what happens on that journey, no matter what stands in your way, if you keep believing, you keep working, and you never ever give up, anything is possible. So remember, if you know someone who loves football just as much as you do, then please tell them about the Football for Kids podcast. And whether you're playing football soon, watching it on the telly or pitch side, I hope that you enjoy the game. See you next time.